Hello, here we are. We're going to get going with Joshua 19, which is going to show us more of the allotment of territory to the different tribes. Now, I don't want you to think, oh, well, what does this mean? The bottom line is when you hear the names of these towns, it gives you reference points and you become familiar with them so that when you hear them again in other parts of the Old and New Testament, it makes sense to you and gives you a sense of familiarity that's very nice to have. Okay, so listen up. Here we go. The second lot came out for the tribe of Simeon. If you remember, Joshua was casting some lots to find out who gets what. So it's like drawing straws. Their inheritance lay within the territory of, the second lot came out for the tribe of Simeon according to its clans. Their inheritance lay within the territory of Judah. It included Beersheba, Moladah, Hazar Shual, Bala, Ezern, is it Ezem? Ezem, Eltalad, Bethul, Bethul, not El like Bethel. Hormah, Ziklag, Beth Markaboth, Hazar Susa, Beth Laboa, Beth Labaoth, and Sharahan, 13 towns and their villages. Ain, A-I-N, Rimmon, Ether, and Ashen, 4 towns and their villages, and all the villages around these towns as far as Baalath Beer. And in parentheses it says Ramah in the Negev. Okay, this was the inheritance of the tribe of the Simeonites according to its clans. The inheritance of the Simeonites was taken from the share of Judah because Judah's portion was more than they needed. So the Simeonites received their inheritance within the territory of Judah. The third lot came up for Zebulun according to its clans. The boundary of their inheritance went as far as Sarid. Going west, it ran to Maralah, touched Dabasheth, and extended to the ravine near Jokneam. It turned east from Sarid towards the sunrise to the territory of Kisloth Tabor and went on to Dabarath and up to Japhia. Then it continued eastward to Gath Hefer and Eth Kazin. It came out at Rimmon and turned towards Neah, Neah. There, the boundary went around on the north to Hanathon and ended at the valley of Iftah El. Okay, so picture this in your mind, however you picture it. Included were Katath, Nahalal, Shimron, Idalah, and Bethlehem. There were 12 towns and their villages. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of Zebulun according to its clans. And didn't we say that Elon was probably from the clan of Zebulun because we heard his name in there? Doesn't have to be true, but it could be. And that's interesting because Bethlehem was allotted to his tribe. The fourth lot came out for Issachar according to its clans. Their territory included Jezreel, Kezuloth, Shunem, Hepharim, Shion, Anahareth, Rabbith, Kishion, Ebez, Remeth, En-Ganim, En-Haddah, and Beth Pazez. The boundary touched Tabor, Shahazuma, and Beth Shemesh and ended at the Jordan. There were 16 towns and their villages. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Issachar according to its clans. The fifth lot came out for the tribe of Asher, according to its clans. Their territory included Helkath, Hali, Beton, Akshaph, Alamelech, Amad, and Mishal. On the west, the boundary touched Carmel and Shihor-Libnath. It then turned east towards Beth Dagon, touched Zebulun and the valley of Iftah El, and went north to Beth Emek and Neiel, passing Kabul on the left. It went to Abdon, Rehob, Hammon, and Cana as far as Greater Sidon. The boundary then turned back towards Ramah and went to the fortified city of Tyre, Tyre, and we're going to hear a lot more about Tyre, turned towards Hosa and came out at the Mediterranean Sea in the region of Aksib, Ummah, Aphek, and Rehob. There were 22 towns and their villages. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Asher according to its clans. Now, I live in Massachusetts where we have lots of towns and villages, so this makes sense to me. It's not a small portion they're getting. They're getting a lot of stuff. 22 towns and the villages is a lot, okay? They don't divide up towns on the West Coast the way they do on the East Coast, at least not in New England. In New England, we have towns, then we have little villages in the towns, and it goes on. And I think in all we have like 450 towns or villages or something. I don't know. We're all divvied up, okay? Very different than the East Coast, than the West Coast, excuse me. Much more old-fashioned here, much more original, you know, true to the beginning. We've stuck with it. All right, and we're called a commonwealth, okay? Very different. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Asher according to its clans. So once again, they're listing it and then they're giving a summation sentence. You know, these are the towns for so-and-so. The sixth lot came out for Naphtali according to its clans. Their boundary went from Heleph and the large tree in Zananim, passing Adami Nekeb and Jabneel to Lakum, and ending at the Jordan. Once again, I want you to picture in your mind something, okay, so that you have a feeling. And then when you hear these names again throughout the Bible, it's sort of all inclusive. You get it, you're in it, okay? The boundary ran west through Aznoth Tabor and came out at Hukok. It touched Zebulun on the south, Asher on the west, and the Jordan on the east. The fortified towns were Ziddim, Zur, Hamath, Reketh, Kinnereth, Adamah, Ramah, Hazor, Kadesh, Edrei, and Hazor. Isn't Kadesh what David Kadesh, the guy from the Branch Davidians, the cult leader that was killed at Waco? That whole thing was a travesty. It makes me sick. But anyway, he called himself David Kadesh, and I believe it was spelled the same way, Kedesh. Okay, so this is 4, so let's see where David Kadesh was taking that from. From the tribe of Naphtali. Kadesh was the town. Let me just look that up really quick. David Kadesh. Oh, he did it with no. All right, I'm not going to waste time there. I just can't remember how he spells it, which is odd because I know the story so well. All right. Kadesh, Edrei, and Hazor, Iron. It's a town named Iron. Maybe Iron, but it's I-R-O-N. Migdal El, and El is always E-L. Horem, Beth Anath, and Beth Shemesh. There were 19 towns and their villages. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Naphtali according to its clans. The seventh lot came out for the tribe of Dan according to its clans. The territory of their inheritance included Zorah, Eshtal, Shemesh, is I-R, Shalabin, Aijalon, Itlah, Elon, there's Elon again, Timnah, Ekron, Eltekah, Gibberton, Baleth, Jehud, Benabarak, Gath-Rimmon, Mejarkon, and Raycon, with the area facing Joppa, Hoppa, Joppa. When the territory of the Danites, the tribe of Dan, was lost to them, they went up and attacked Leshem, took it, put it to the sword, and occupied it. Then they settled in Leshem and named it Dan after their ancestor. These towns and villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Dan according to its clans. When they'd finished dividing the land into its allotted portions, the Israelites gave Joshua, son of Nun, an inheritance among them, as the Lord had commanded. They gave him the town he asked for, Timnath-Serah, in the hill country of Ephraim, and he built up the town and settled there. These are the territories that Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the tribal clans of Israel assigned by lot at Shiloh in the presence of the Lord at the entrance to the tent of meeting. And so they finished dividing the land. So there can be no mistake what land belongs to who and where, okay? It's written out so permanently and clearly. Joshua 20. Then the Lord said to Joshua, tell the Israelites to designate the cities of refuge as I instructed you through Moses, so that anyone who kills a person accidentally and unintentionally may flee there and find protection from the avenger of blood, meaning the person who wants to kill them for killing someone they loved. When they flee to one of these cities, they are to stand in the entrance of the city gate and state their case before the elders of that city. Then the elders are to admit the fugitive into their city and provide a place to live among them. If the avenger of blood comes in pursuit, the elders must not surrender the fugitive, because the fugitive killed their neighbor unintentionally and without malice aforethought. They are to stay in that city until they've stood trial before the assembly and until the death of the high priest who's serving at that time. Then they may go back to their own home in the town from which they fled. So they set apart Kadesh in Galilee in the hill country of Naphtali, Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah. So Hebron, which is still very active, was a sanctuary city, as well as Kadesh, which is interesting that David took on the name Kadesh, David Kadesh, which was a sanctuary city. East of the Jordan, on the other side from Jericho, they designated Bezer in the wilderness on the plateau in the tribe of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead in the tribe of Gad, and Golan in Bashan in the tribe of Manasseh. We know Golan as the Golan Heights. Any of the Israelites or any foreigner residing among them who killed someone accidentally could flee to these designated cities and not be killed by the avenger of blood prior to standing trial before the assembly. I don't know, Golan Heights are the heights of Golan, so I don't know if the heights were included as a sanctuary city. I'm assuming so, that it would be all of Golan. Okay, Joshua 21. Now the family heads of the Levites approached Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the other tribal families of Israel at Shiloh in Canaan, and said to them, the Lord commanded through Moses that you give us towns to live in, with pasture lands for our livestock. Hold on, I just need to see what time it is. Okay, because I'm cooking something. All right, here we go. So as the Lord had commanded, the Israelites gave the Levites the following towns and pasture lands out of their own inheritance. The first lot came out for the Kohathites according to their clans. The Levites, who were descendants of Aaron the priest, were allotted 13 towns from the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. The rest of Kohath's descendants were allotted 10 towns from the clans. Excuse me, I lost my place. 10 towns from the clans of the tribes of Ephraim, Dan, and half of Manasseh. So everybody had to kind of pitch in some towns for the Levites, which makes perfect sense. The descendants of Gershon were allotted 13 towns from the clans of the tribes of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and the half tribe of Manasseh in Bashan. Okay, so that half of the tribe that was in Bashan. The descendants of Merari, according to their clans, received 12 towns from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. So see, everybody's giving something. So the Israelites allotted to the Levites these towns and their pasture lands as the Lord had commanded through Moses. From the tribes of Judah and Simeon, they allotted the following towns by name. These towns were assigned to the descendants of Aaron, who were from the Kohathite clans of the Levites, because the first lot fell to them. They gave them Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, with its surrounding pasture land in the hill country of Judah. Arba was the forefather of Anak, A-N-A-K. But the fields and villages around the city they'd given to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, as his possession. So to the descendants of Aaron, the priests, they gave Hebron. So to the descendants of Aaron, the priest, they gave Hebron, a city of refuge for one accused of murder. Libnah, Jatir, Eshtemoa, Holon, Debir, Ain, Judah, and Beth Shemesh, together with their pasture lands, 9 towns from these 2 tribes. And from the tribe of Benjamin, they gave them Gibeon, Geba, Anatoth, and Almon, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. The total number of towns for the priests, the descendants of Aaron, came to 13, together with their pasture lands. The rest of the Kohathite clans of the Levites were allotted towns from the tribes of Ephraim. In the hill country of Ephraim, they were given Shechem, a city of refuge for one accused of murder, and Gezer, Kibzaim, and Beth Horon, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. Also, from the tribe of Dan, they received Eltekeh, Gibbeton, Aijalon, and Gath Rimmon, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From half the tribe of Manasseh, they relieved Tanakh and Gath Rimmon, together with their pasture lands, 2 towns. All these 10 towns and their pasture lands were given to the rest of the Kohathite clans. The Levite clans of the Gershonites were given from the half-tribe of Manasseh, Golan in Bashan, a city of refuge for one accused of murder, and Be-Eshterah, together with their pasture lands, 2 towns, and B is B-E. From the tribe of Issachar, Kishion, Daberath, Jarmuth, and En-Ganim, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Asher, Mishal, Abdon, Helkath, and Rehob, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Naphtali, Kadesh and Galilee, a city of, now that would make sense that David Kadesh would name himself a city of refuge that is in Galilee, referring to Jesus Christ. Kadesh in Galilee, a city of refuge for one accused of murder. Hamath, Dor, and Kartan, together with their pasture lands, 3 towns. That was what Naphtali gave to the Levites. The total number of towns of the Gershonite clans came to 13, together with their pasture lands. The Merarite clans, the rest of the Levites, were given from the tribe of Zebulun. Jokneam, Karta, Dimnah, and Nahalal, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Reuben, Bezer, Jahaz, Kedemoth, and Mephath, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns. From the tribe of Gad, Ramoth and Gilead, a city of refuge for one accused of murder. Mahanaim, Heshbon, and Jazer, together with their pasture lands, 4 towns in all. The total number of towns allotted to the Merarite clans, who were the rest of the Levites, came to 12. The towns of the Levites in the territory held by the Israelites were 48 in all, together with their pasture lands. That's a lot of property, 48 towns and pasture. Each of these towns had pasture lands surrounding it. This was true for all these towns. So the Lord gave Israel all the land he'd sworn to give their ancestors, and they took possession of it and settled there. The Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he'd sworn to their ancestors. Not one of their enemies withstood them. The Lord gave all their enemies into their hands. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled. All right, last one for the night, Joshua 22. Then Joshua summoned the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, these are the ones on the east of the Jordan, and said, "You've done all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded, and you've obeyed me in everything I commanded. For a long time now, to this very day, you've not deserted your fellow Israelites, but have carried out the mission the Lord your God gave you. Now that the Lord your God has given them rest as he promised, return to your homes in the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you on the other side of the Jordan. But be very careful to keep the commandment and the law that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you, to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, to keep his commands, to hold fast to him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul." Then Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went to their homes. To the half-tribe of Manasseh, Moses had given land in Bashan, and to the other half of the tribe, Joshua gave land on the west side of the Jordan along with their fellow Israelites. When Joshua sent them home, he blessed them, saying, "Return to your homes with your great wealth, with large herds of livestock, with silver, gold, bronze, and iron, and a great quantity of clothing, and divide the plunder from your enemies with your fellow Israelites." So the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh left the Israelites at Shiloh in Canaan to return to Gilead, their own land, which they'd acquired in accordance with the command of the Lord through Moses. When they came to Jeliloth near the Jordan and in the land of Canaan, the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh built an imposing altar there by the Jordan. And when the Israelites heard that they had built the altar on the border of Canaan at Jeliloth near the Jordan on the Israelite side, the whole assembly of Israel gathered at Shiloh to go to war against them. Because of where they built this altar, they thought they had become their enemies. That's why Israel marched out against them. So the Israelites sent Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, to the land of Gilead. Remember, Phinehas ran that man and woman through for running, laughing, and being silly while the elders were in distress praying at the tent, the opening of the door of meeting. Okay. So the Israelites sent Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, to the land of Gilead, to Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. With him they sent 10 of the chief men, one from each of the tribes of Israel, each the head of a family division among the Israelite clans. Because remember, they're all supposed to come to the temple to make their sacrifices. So the Israelites are like, what are you doing? Are you setting up something against us? You're setting up your own deal here? What's happening? Okay, now they're not going out in the fields, because we know the Lord said, don't you dare go out in the fields. You always sacrifice to me on the altar I choose. So these guys just made a mistake, it looks like, because we're going to find out here. When they went to Gilead, to Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, they said to him, the whole assembly of the Lord says, how could you break faith with the God of Israel like this? Now, I think part of the problem is they're on the other side of the Jordan, too. So they seem sort of like they're in a different country, okay? How could you turn away from the Lord and build yourselves an altar in rebellion against him now? Was not the sin of Peor enough for us? Up to this very day, we've not cleansed ourselves from that sin, even though a plague fell on the community of the Lord. And are you now turning away from the Lord? If you rebel against the Lord today, tomorrow he'll be angry with the whole community of Israel. If the land you possess is defiled, come over to the Lord's land where the Lord's tabernacle stands on the west side, right? Other than the altar of the Lord our God. Excuse me, I read it wrong. And come over to where the Lord's tabernacle stands and share the land with us. But don't rebel against the Lord or against us by building an altar for yourselves other than the altar of the Lord our God. When Achan, son of Zerah, was unfaithful in regard to the devoted things, did not wrath come on the whole community of Israel? That was the guy who took the beautiful robe and he got stoned to death and burned with his whole family. He was not the only one who died for his sin, right? His whole family died with him. Then Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh replied to the heads of the clans of Israel, the mighty one, God, the Lord, the mighty one, God, the Lord, he knows. And let Israel know, if this has been in rebellion or disobedience to the Lord, don't spare us this day. If we've built our own altar to turn away from the Lord and offer burnt offerings and grain offerings, or to sacrifice fellowship offerings on it, may the Lord call us to account. No, we did it for fear that someday your descendants might say to ours, what do you have to do with the Lord, the God of Israel? The Lord's made the Jordan a boundary between us and you Reubenites and Gadites. You have no share in the Lord. So your descendants might cause ours to stop fearing the Lord. That's why we said, let us get ready and build an altar, but not for burnt offerings or sacrifices. On the contrary, it's a witness between us and you, and the generations that follow, that we will worship the Lord at his sanctuary, with our burnt offerings, sacrifices, and fellowship offerings. So they're saying, we're going to cross the Jordan with our sacrifices and sacrifice in the tabernacle the Lord sets up, or wherever it is now. Then in the future, your descendants will not be able to say to ours, you have no share in the Lord. And we said, if they ever say this to us or to our descendants, we'll answer, look at the replica of the Lord's altar, which our ancestors built, not for burnt offerings and sacrifices, but as a witness between us and you. Far be it for us to rebel against the Lord and turn away from him today by building an altar for burnt offerings, grain offerings, and sacrifices other than the altar of the Lord our God that stands before his tabernacle. So obviously they have a tabernacle and they have an altar on the west side of the Jordan. When Phinehas the priest and the leaders of the community, the heads of the clans of the Israelites, heard what Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh had to say, they were pleased. And Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, said to Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, today we know that the Lord is with us, because you have not been unfaithful to the Lord in this matter. Now you've rescued the Israelites from the Lord's hand. Then Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, and the leaders returned to Canaan from their meeting with the Reubenites and Gadites in Gilead and reported to the Israelites. They were glad to hear the report and praised God. And they talked no more about going to war against them to devastate the country where the Reubenites and Gadites lived. And the Reubenites and the Gadites gave the altar this name, a witness between us that the Lord is God. And it's the first letters of the prominent words are capitalized. A witness between us that the Lord is God. Isn't that beautiful? I have a witness between you and me that the Lord is God. Okay? That's my witness. That's your witness to me. The Lord is God. I love you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll pick it up. We'll finish Joshua, and let's see what we're going to go to next, because I don't know. Book after Joshua. I think it's going to be, it's Judges. That's exciting, because the Israelites are going to have to set up judges. And after that, we have Ruth, which is a wonderful, very short book, but it's some people's favorite book. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Keep praying, okay? We're still in dangerous times here. Let's keep praying. See you tomorrow. Good night.